Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello and welcome back to the Red Lasered Water Guy show. And we're all about helping you help yourself, help your body heal itself naturally. And that's the way it has to work. The body has to heal itself. There's always a time and a place for surgeries and things like that, but the body still has to do the healing. And that's what we're here to help you do at accelerated speeds. And so we're all about helping you, talking to you about your quality of your water, and how we can help you have structured, microclustered, ionized, energized, and programmed water to help your body be hydrated, because dehydration is the number one challenge in the start of most people's disease. And then the second thing we talk about is lasers. And we've got a real special show tonight. We've got a gentleman on as a guest here with me who's got lots of experience and studied the lasers, and in particular the pureVibranz lasers, because there's no other lasers out there like that I found that have added frequencies that match optimal wellness to the human body. And so what I want to do is bring Dr. Jim Applegate on, and he's going to give us a deep dive into why the lasers work so well. So hello, Jim, how you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. How about you, Joe?
I'm doing really good. Glad to have you on the show. Dr. Jim's been working with lasers for many years in his own practice. So why don't you give us an overview about how you, what you do, how you got started into using the lasers, and the depth of study that you've had.
Right. Well, I'm a chiropractor, first of all. I've been in practice for 35 years. I've probably been using the lasers for maybe 15 years at this point, something on that scale. I've always gotten good results using the lasers, but I've also done a lot of research and attended quite a few postgraduate courses related to laser research and science. So I have a better understanding of why we get good results using them. Which is, it's nice to get empirical results, obviously, but I also always wanted to understand better how it works. And one of the things that happens, the laser itself being, I don't know if everyone knows, but laser, the word laser is really an acronym. It stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That's what laser means. We just say laser and everybody just uses the term, but very few people actually know that that's what it means. So what does that really mean? It's a focused beam of light that emits photon energy, and all the photons are traveling in the same direction and at the same wavelength. That's what makes it coherent light, or what we call coherent light. And it has specific effects at the cellular level. We knew it affected things. We knew it benefited tissue, but there's been some more research done more recently that has brought it to clearer light how and why that works. I don't know how much science background a lot of people have, maybe not a lot, but many people have been in high school or college biology, have heard of something called the Krebs cycle. It's also called the citric acid cycle, or sometimes it's also the energy transfer chain is a reference point to how this process occurs. What the laser does is stimulate and enhance that energy production process. So there's these little organelles inside most cells called mitochondria. Most people have heard of that. And that's the energy production unit in each cell. That's what builds and produces the energy that the cell runs on, and all the tissues in our body runs on. There are four, they call them complexes. Think of it as a series of chemical reactions that occur inside the mitochondria that build up to the production of energy. So it's a process. So what now has been determined is that the violet laser, that frequency, 405 nanometers, basically causes the electrons to jump to a higher electron shell. That energizes them, peps them up, if you will, and makes them capable of more energetically producing energy ultimately. So first you stimulate the electrons, boost their energy. Then the green laser helps to facilitate the electron transfer chain. That's what they call the process of moving from one set of chemical reactions to the next. And that moves from complex 1 and 2, so called, which the violet stimulates. The green carries it through the complex 3 to complex 4. So what does that mean? That's where adenosine triphosphate is produced, and that's your primary energy source in the cell at the cellular level. The other really cool thing that we found out has been discovered more recently is that there are free-floating mitochondria in the blood. We used to think they were only trapped inside individual cells, little organelles inside individual cells, and they were kind of contained there. But we now know that there are free-floating mitochondria in the blood. So they attach themselves to hemoglobin and other things. Here's why that's important. Let's say you have a sore shoulder, a sore elbow, whatever, an injury or something of that nature, and you're treating it with the laser. It will certainly help facilitate energy production and therefore healing at that site. But because it's going to also go into the blood, it will energize the mitochondria, the free-floating mitochondria in the blood, and travel everywhere in the body. So even if you're treating one area of your body with the laser, you're actually helping your entire system. It's really, really great, that's good news for us.
Oh yeah,
that's a really cool thing. And so some of the advantages that is that the resulting effects is increases cell growth, the speed at which cells grow, increases metabolic activity, increases angiogenesis, which is production of new blood vessels after healing. Vascular activity is part of that. It suppresses the COX-2 pathway, which is a pain delivery pathway, essentially. So it helps reduce pain as a result of that, decreases inflammation. It causes faster wound healing. One of the things it does is reduce fibrous tissue formation. So scar tissue, basically, that results after injury, for example. So having an anti-inflammatory effect reduces swelling. It increases that vascular activity, stimulates nerve function, and helps to generate stem cells, which is also great for building new tissue, obviously. The stem cells can turn into whatever the body needs them to turn into. It also emulsifies fat cells, or has the capacity to emulsify fat cells. So a lot of people are getting all kinds of different sorts of treatment for, weight loss, and everybody wants to look better, of course. So that's fine, but some of the treatments involve freezing fat cells, and that sort of it causes bruising and pain, and you're actually damaging cells. But if you use the laser to accomplish a similar thing, you can emulsify the fat in the cells, not damage the cells, and then flush the fat from the fat cells. So you don't reduce the number of them, you reduce their size. So you're getting a better effect without damaging tissue, is the bottom line. What else can we talk about? There's a lot of complex stuff to do with the process of energy production, but we really don't need to get into that. One of the things that people get confused about different kinds of lasers is everybody says, "Oh, don't point lasers in your eyes, don't point," and that's wise because you'll have people that will take a pointer, for example. A red laser pointer has the full spectrum of red. It's not just a specific wavelength and frequency, and that actually makes it more dangerous, interestingly enough, from a health standpoint, because you have frequencies that are not particularly helpful to the body if you include the whole spectrum of that color. That's why specific wavelengths and frequencies are beneficial, as opposed to just a broad spectrum of any of the colors that we use, for that matter. Okay, so that's an important thing to understand. Somebody says, "Well, I have a powerful laser. My laser's stronger than your laser." That kind of bumper sticker. Well, that's great if you want to cut something or burn something with it, but if you want to heal tissue and increase energy production, you better not be using above a class 2 laser because you're going to damage tissue instead of making it healthier. So that's another important distinction that a lot of people misunderstand about use of lasers. I'm not. Go ahead.
So the VibranZ lasers are class 2 cold laser, right?
Correct. And that's why they're not only safe but efficacious. They actually increase energy in the cells because the coherent light, which we already discussed, what they discovered was that each photon of coherent light is equal energetically to the release of an electron. So not only are, because of the reasons that I went into, and that's the way the cycle works, energy production cycle works, not only are we enhancing the production of energy, we're literally adding energy into the cycle by using the laser, because the laser itself is adding energy into that cycle. And that's why it increases the speed of healing, because it's not just increasing the production, it's adding energy in as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done different tests through the GDB camera showing that we increase the life force energy in the blood about 30% in the first 30 seconds. And the red is about 30%. The violet actually was a little bit more, maybe 35%.
The violet's the most energetic of all of them.
Yeah.
They're all necessary and they're all important. Interestingly enough, in the last phase of energy production in the mitochondria, it's the red that is the most useful at that last stage of energy production. But without the violet and the green to boost it to the point that it gets to that stage, you won't get as good of a production. So the violet opens the door, the green kind of carries it through the door, and the red finishes the equation, if you will.
The process.
The process, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. That's amazing. What about the? Can you address the added frequencies? Because I'm figuring most of the.
Well, okay. So how I see that, because think of it this way: everything in the universe vibrates, literally. I mean, the table you're sitting at, the microphone you're speaking into, everything, all of our cells, everything around us, every single thing in the universe vibrates. Yes. And if we can match the frequency of vibration of whatever it is we're trying to affect, we will have a definite effect on that, and that can be used in different directions. Obviously, a good one that most people have probably seen was, most people have seen the video of Ella Fitzgerald hitting a particular note and breaking a crystal glass. How that works is you reach the resonant frequency of the structure. That's what made it come apart. But if you use it in another direction, you can enhance function and increase energy production, in this case, by closely matching the frequency of a particular tissue, organ, or system in the body, for example. So the more frequencies that we have that are a match or symbiotically match different tissues and organs in our body, the body goes, oh, I recognize that, and easily accepts it. So that's really, it's kind of like, you got a big guy at the door letting people in or not letting people in. So think of it like that. If you're trying to assault the body with something, like unfortunately many Western medical approaches tend to do, we're going to battle the disease. We're going to kill the thing. There's a list this long of side effects, which unfortunately include tremors, convulsions, and death. They're just unfortunate side effects. I don't look at it that way myself, but that's why with this, you're doing something that there is no downside to. I don't suggest that it solves every problem. No one's saying that. But you're only going to benefit. You're not going to harm anything. That's the advantage. Because you're only using things that are consistent with the body's own energy and own tissue. So you are doing something that's complementary, not antagonistic. It may not solve all your problems, but it's certainly not going to harm you. And that's why I really prefer using these lasers when I treat my patients.
Mm-hmm. And so basically what we're talking about is coherent versus incoherent. And you've talked about coherent.
Correct.
And the way so that's a language, if you will, that the body understands. It's
Well, it also
body friendly.
right. It's matching the frequencies that are indigenous to the body. That's the key.
What we call what pureVibranz calls human blueprint frequencies.
Right. So I just want that to be really clear, because you can have a coherent beam of a laser beam that you can cut with, that you can do surgery with. So that's still coherent light. What makes it work in the body is that it matches frequencies that are already indigenous to the body, that it's not trying to exceed them or override them. It's actually complementing them. That's the critical part of the equation.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. So, because coherent can be
Right.
harmful as well as helpful if it's overpowered.
Right.
Yeah.
These aren't, but yeah, you have to be careful, because that could
right.
someone with the wrong tool, you won't get the beneficial effects that we do with the tools that we're using.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So, okay. Anything else you got?
Well, that depends on you. What else would like me to talk about?
Do you use more than one laser at a time in a bundle?
I do, actually. The latest protocols, based on the newest research out there, as I alluded to before, because of the different, what they call complexes or stages, let's call it, of energy production, is to use the violet. If you were using them individually in a row, you'd use the violet, then the green, then the red, or the violet and green together and then followed by the red, or you can use all of them at the same time, because the body will sort it out. It will choose. The violet will have the effect of increasing the energy of the electrons, jumping them to the next energy cell or level shell, and the green will help to transform that at that point, and the red will help to solidify that reaction and more efficiently produce energy. So you can use them all together. There's no reason not to. That's what I do. I do struggle with holding all three buttons at once. I have to say, sometimes I fumble with that a little bit, but I got to get better at that. But really, I see the best results using them all together. It's a great question.
Yeah, I do also. I band them all together. Actually have our ionizer in there with them.
Sure, absolutely.
And adding the negative ions, and it has human blueprint frequencies that complement the three lasers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That can be used at the same time. There's nothing contraindicated there.
Yeah. And so when I do expos and stuff and work on people, as a demonstration, in 2 to 3 minutes, most people are already getting relief. Because everything, a lot of people think the body's static, is what I've found. And it's not. It's dynamic. It's changing every moment. And and it works at the speed of light. And most people don't really realize that either. If you think about it, our body circulates our blood, 2 or 3 times a minute through 30-some thousand miles of arteries and capillaries and stuff. That's pretty amazing in itself.
Another thing that people may or may not understand is you actually will get more consistent results using the laser more frequently, not necessarily for a longer period of time. I find that, you can do, 2 or 3 minutes or whatever you want. Literally, even 30 seconds to a minute is sufficient to get a very beneficial effect. And so you could do, let's say a minute for argument's sake. But if you do that multiple times during the day, you'll get more results than if you just stood there for 3 minutes once.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're stimulating this. Another word for this low-level laser treatment is photobiomodulation. Is a nice long word. That's that's another word that you can use for the effect, and that's important because the coherent light is not change. It's causing a chemical response in the tissue, a photochemical response in the tissue. So you can think of it as analogous to photosynthesis with plants. Mm-hmm. We're affecting a similar kind of change using light in the tissue, because inside the cellular part of the mitochondria, it's a 3-layer kind of thing, and there's an inner layer there's an inner matrix and an outer layer, and they have different functions. That this electron transport mechanism is primarily occurring on the inner layer, but there's cells in the matrix between the inner layer and the outer part that are held in place, some of which are photoreactive. Okay, there's copper and hemoglobin attached to other things, and those are able to react to light, and that's what actually helps trigger the reaction stimulated by the light. So much like a plant can take sunlight and change it into energy and grow and develop, our cells are capable of doing that with this kind of light because of that matrix, the makeup of that matrix within the cell.
Excellent.
So that's what makes us able to use the light to produce more energy.
Mm-hmm. So it's what I tell people is, I carry my sunshine with me, because
There you
basically
go.
what we're doing with
Sure.
our lasers is
That's right.
replicating sunshine. And, that's real powerful. The more I come to understand that, it's about, because again, we're all about self-care for self-healing. And
Right.
so when you can carry your sunshine with you, and like you say, use it 30 seconds, all of our testing has showed that 30 seconds is all it takes to add about 30% life force energy into the blood.
Right.
And then it also, what I'm figuring out, or maybe help me understand this, is by giving up free electrons into the water in our body and our blood, is that what helps separate our red blood cells into free flowing? Because usually in 30 seconds to a minute.
It does help do that. Yeah. There's more to it than that, but I don't think we want to go there necessarily. But
Well,
yeah,
we don't
I
want
mean, basically, yeah, you're right.
because
That's close enough.
we're changing
Yeah.
sticky blood is got too many protons, too
Yes.
positive a charge, so we're bringing in more of a negative charge to help
Right.
separate everything, make
Yes.
it free flowing. So that gives us better microcirculation, more oxygen in the blood, and gives up more toxins when it goes through the lungs.
That's right. And
And
now that we understand, which is relatively new research as far as I know, that there are free floating mitochondria in the blood that are able to react, that's one of the reasons why we can see such a dramatic change and effect in the blood. In particular, like when the blood microscopy is done and we see a rapid change like that, literally 30 seconds, 40 seconds, we see a change just like that.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is why, because we're able to affect. I believe that's the link, that we're able to affect that free floating mitochondria that's in the blood, which they didn't even realize that was the case until fairly recently.
Yeah, that's the first I'd heard that, because that the
That's
mitochondria
relatively
was
new
actually,
research. Yeah, that's relatively new research.
yeah, that makes everything make more sense
Yeah.
with the testing we've done and everything we've seen. And Dr. Jack Kruse, I've been doing some other studies. Dr. Jack Kruse says that sunlight shining into water and into our body adds an electrical charge, and
Makes
the
sense.
water holds that charge.
Right.
So you can actually put water out in the sun and it'll charge it. But it does the same thing in our body. So that's what brought me back to our lasers are
Sure.
actually doing the same thing. We're infusing
Yeah.
electrons in. So, and that's storing energy. And so it'll last, a few hours actually. A treatment will keep going for quite a while.
Well, yeah, and not only that, it'll have a longer lasting effect even than that. I mean, you're right. The specific effect from that application may have a limited time frame to a degree, but because you've already made changes in the system, in the body itself, by stimulating that process, it takes that and runs with it, if you will. So even though the specific reaction to that application or treatment may only have a window of time that you would see the actual effect, like if you were doing an experiment, so to speak, you'd only see the reaction last a certain thing, but really it has a longer lasting effect because it's already stimulated other changes in the body, and those continue to go because that's the nature of how our body works.
So it'd be similar to exercising a muscle. Every
Right.
time you work it out, you gain a little strength, and it'll never come back to where it was. It'll always be just a little bit higher. So you're like continually.
Yeah, unless you stop using it altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So, and here what we're building is our immune system.
Sure. It absolutely enhances immune function as well.
Yeah. So the more we use the frequencies, the lasers, it's like the immune system gets stronger, and then it'll come back a little bit. It'll go up, and it'll never come back to where it was originally.
Right.
So that way we're, because the immune system is the key to self-care,
Oh, sure.
It really is.
Sure.
Because we're all about prevention too. I'm healthy. I don't have any aches and pains and stuff, but I use the lasers every day because I'm all about staying that way, continuing to build it. Okay. That's pretty amazing stuff. I'm blown away with the mitochondria in the blood. So I've wondered about, because I've told people before, they like what Doug Wallace says, Dr. Doug Wallace says that all aging is too many dysfunctional mitochondria in the cell. And then he says every cell has mitochondria except for red blood cells. Mm-hmm. So now we're saying,
right. There are certain individual cells like that don't, although most have mitochondria. But the point is that even if you take a cell, use that as an example, a cell that may not have mitochondria in that cell, nonetheless, there's free-floating mitochondria in the blood. Now, a lot of people don't realize, because we think of it as a liquid, because of course that's our perception of it, it's actually considered a tissue. It's a flowing tissue, if you will, because it's so complex. And within that tissue matrix, there are free-floating mitochondria. So therefore, it's not necessary for it to be in every single cell if it's free-floating in the blood tissue as well.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. So let me think if we got any other questions here. So, okay. Some of the stuff I looked up on the violet laser, it says it improves nitric oxide release.
That's right.
Works as an accelerating agent in wound healing.
Right.
So, okay. And so on the green laser, it says it helps improve the oxygen carrying ability of the blood cells. And so.
Right. The other, yes. And the violet also, they all have some effect to that degree, but the violet is particularly helpful when it comes to its effects in foreign bacteria, for example. One of the things that some of the research that they've done more recently also is with people that are resistant to antibiotics, like for people with SARS or MRSA or that kind of situation where they're antibiotic resistant. But they may have been exposed to a foreign bacteria that's harmful to the body, that kind of thing. While they all have some effect, the violet in particular, that 405 nanometer frequency and wavelength, has a specific effect. It reduces the motility of a bacteria, reduces its ability to replicate. Doesn't stop it, but it slows it down. And it also reduces its ability to build a protective shell around itself and hide. So if it can't hide very well from the immune system, and it can't move real fast, and it can't replicate real fast, it's exposed to the immune system, and it has a better chance of taking care of it. That's one of the ways that it helps.
Excellent.
And the violet is specifically helpful with those things. So it's pretty cool, because they're using it as an alternative treatment to antibiotics with people that are antibiotic resistant. So pretty cool stuff.
That's real cool. I like that. Mm-hmm. Good deal. Because it is antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial.
Right.
And,
right.
Well, actually, with the frequencies that have been added through 0-point technology that are unique in the pureVibranz lasers, the violet laser now is 390 nanometers to 495 nanometers is the spectrum that we have on it now. So, and the red is 660 nanometers to 870 nanometers. So we're actually red through infrared. And
Okay.
so that's some of the reasons. The green is 520 nanometers to 585 nanometers now. So, and then, so is that, I know our lasers go through clothing, go through shoes,
Well, yeah,
distance and make any
that has to
difference.
do with that's because it's coherent light. It'll penetrate
Okay.
reasonably well. And that has to do with all the photons traveling in the same direction and the wavelength being the same. That's what makes it coherent, and that's why it has the capacity to penetrate deeper. Where regular light is more, it has more scattered frequency, so it's not able to do that. You get too much diffraction. It's still light, so it's still ideal to treat directly on the skin if you have the opportunity to do so,
Mm-hmm.
but you can treat through, a regular shirt like this or so. I wouldn't try to treat somebody through a coat or a jacket or a sweater, for example. It might work anyway, but you're going to get a better result if you don't try
Mm-hmm.
to go through too much. It is still light, so you will get some diffraction, but because it's coherent light, you get penetration that you won't with ordinary light.
Mm-hmm. Well, at some of the expos, I've worked on people through the bottom of their shoes and
You
got relief.
can. You can. It
And
will. It will. It's not that it won't. It's just, but you're not going to get as great an effect because there
mm-hmm.
will be diffraction through that
Some do.
material.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And I've let them know that, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like I was, I've done it through jackets and stuff. And then I'll tell them, next to, direct to the skin, you're going to get a little even more effect. But
Correct.
I make the point because they get relief,
Oh yeah.
in just a
Sure.
couple of
Sure. Of
minutes.
course. You're still going to get
So,
some benefit, no question.
yeah.
It's not ideal to go through lots of layers, but you'll still get some help. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. What else we got here? What about the brain function using the lasers around the head or?
Well, here's the thing. So one of the things that's really enlightening about finding out that there's free floating mitochondria in the blood is the key to that. In a sense, actually, there's been quite a bit of research done on transcranial stimulation with laser, and actually, it can be very helpful for a lot of reasons. But think about it; it's really doing the same kind of stuff there. You are stimulating energy production at the cellular level. So
Mm-hmm.
it stands to reason that it would benefit function and make more efficacious different functions, cranial functions, and neurological functions as well. Because one of the things that happens if you're stimulating the any place on the body and it's also activating mitochondria in the blood, where does it travel to? The brain. What uses most of the blood? The brain. There's the most, that's the thing that uses the most of it. That it's going to take the most oxygen, the most, energy, if you will. And
Correct.
so it should be capable of crossing the blood brain barrier because it's not something foreign. You're activating mitochondria. That's a natural constituent of the blood. And we now know that. So you're not putting anything foreign in, you're just energizing what's already there. So treating anywhere on the body is also going to beneficially affect the brain, and treating the cranium directly can also enhance different types of neurological function and help someone recover from different sorts of things more rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. One of those things I was studying was the upregulating of gene expression. So would you say that the the lasers working in the blood like they do and adding the energy and the coherent frequencies and stuff, vibration would upregulate gene expression to build
Well,
a
yeah,
healthier?
because they're stimulating it helps to stimulate the production of stem cells, and that's where you're going to get the expression of the genes. The gene has the code. The genetic code in each cellular matrix, and if you're increasing stem cell production, then now you're providing raw undifferentiated cells that can become whatever they need to, and that will be directed by the genetic code. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying kind of what you're saying. And our family has had a lot of personal benefit and experience from using the lasers multiple different situations. My mother has had issues with, like a TIA type of thing, and using the lasers enhanced function and everything. She's doing great. Our younger son, Ben, was always we always said he led with his head, literally, and, he was on his way back to his workplace to get his wallet that he had forgotten there on a very busy 4-lane road near us, and got hit by a car when he was on his bicycle. And of course, he was dressed properly in shorts, sandals, and no helmet, because that's Ben.
Yes. Yep.
He got knocked off his bike, flipped over, broke a windshield with his head, and landed in the middle of the street. Not the recommended thing to do. So, he was unconscious. What a surprise. And,
Yep.
My wife Priscilla went to the hospital, and before he ever regained consciousness, she was just lasering, and we proceeded to continue lasering him. And even in the ICU, they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" And she said, "Well, we're lasering." And they're like, "Well, fine, go ahead. You're not hurting anything." So they didn't give us a hard time, and she just lasered like crazy. And he's fine. Actually, he recently got married, so that's another whole issue. But
Congratulations. All
yeah,
right.
it's pretty wonderful. Yeah, but to see his recovery was amazing. He literally got hit on a bike and rendered unconscious, but on a car on a Friday, I think it was, and he walked out of the hospital. Literally walked out of the hospital on Sunday.
Excellent.
That's how fast he was able to heal.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. It's hard to beat that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not that I want anyone to try.
Nope. No, I've experienced some of that. I've sacrificed my own body a few times to prove how quickly it works. So, yeah. Any other testimonials like that?
Well, I just know personally, we've used it so many times. Just, minor injuries, cuts, any kind of small wounds, different things. It accelerates healing. There's no question about it.
Yeah,
And,
I call it cellular repair in the moment.
Well, you're right. And we've had terrific experience with it in that respect. We have them with us all the time.
And there's no downtime. One of the things I've noticed, because I'm still climbing mountains and rock climbing and doing all sorts of stuff like that myself. And I've noticed that, like, I was on top of Mummy Mountain, 11,500 feet, and went to jump from one rock to another. Pant leg caught. I went face first and almost did a good push-up, but my chin hit really hard right here. And so I jumped up, grabbed my laser, and my handkerchief, started lasering it. And what I found out is it takes the trauma out of a new injury in about 30 to 45 seconds, something like that, less than a minute.
Right.
The trauma was out of that injury. And then the next most serious pain shows up. I jammed his thumb pad real bad, and so it was throbbing. So now I start lasering between the two of them. So the trauma goes out of this hand, and I jammed his finger on my right hand. Right. So I'm lasering between the three of them, and pain was gone. And I was just lasering between the three of them, walking down. I had 3.5 hours of hiking to get to the trailhead, another hour into Las Vegas. And so I'm lasering between the three of them, and I had full motion with everything because there's no swelling. And got into Trader Joe's, looked in the mirror. It was like 3/4 of an inch wide, hanging open 1/4 of an inch, and real deep. I just butterflied it closed, kept lasering everything until I went to bed that night. And again, had full motion with everything, no swelling. Got up the next morning, took the Band-Aid off, and I was shaving over it 4 days later, and you can't find a scar. And so,
pretty great.
It's cellular repair in the moment is what I call it.
Yeah, I've had terrific response with many of my patients with different situations as well. There's numerous stories about that because I've seen great results over the years that I've been using it. Obviously I wouldn't give personal information, but one gentleman had an issue with fluid seeping from the inner ear, and he was having an issue, with that, his ears, and I started lasering his ear every time he would come in. And after about the second or third treatment, it's never happened since. He's never had any exudate through the ears, and even his ENT said, "Oh, this is great. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Because it's working really well. And so, and he hasn't had that problem ever since we started doing that.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still working with it for almost 15 years now myself.
Sure.
Is those type of results? People get results, and I've seen frozen shoulders release in like 2 minutes.
Hmm.
I've seen pain that was in one lady had a pain in her ankle that had it for like 30 years from when she fell in a creek or something. And we worked on it one time. Pain never came back, went away and completely because it was memory of pain. It
Right.
wasn't
Right.
physically being agitated. It was just a
That's true.
memory of pain. And so, yeah, that is great. All right. Photon. Okay. Let's talk about lasering water, the water we're drinking. I laser all my water with all 3 lasers and the ionizer because and what we've shown is when you laser water, and we had Dr. Beverly Kuhn did a test with the GDV camera on tap water, and lasering tap water for 30 seconds added about 30% life force energy. It also neutralized all the toxins and made the water wetter to where it started hydrating the body better. And so, have you had any experience with that with your?
Oh, well, yeah, it's absolutely beneficial. I mean, I didn't have her results per se, but that just because I never measured it that way. But from a experiential standpoint, certainly we see the benefit, and that makes perfect sense to me because we are mostly water, from a
Yes.
volume standpoint. So obviously, if we the better and more energized the water we're taking in is, the better the water in our tissues will be. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense to me that would have that effect. It's
Excellent.
certainly, that's what
So,
we do the same thing. So,
yeah. Well, now we have the new. We're gonna change the name of it to hydration ionizer
oh, okay,
because that makes more sense than
right,
hydro combo. And so, and when I do the shows and I'm demonstrating it to people, I have them take their own water. Like a lady came in at the last expo I did 2 weeks ago and had Kangen water in her jug, and she was real proud of that. And I said, well, it's good. It's microclustered. It definitely helps. I said, but it's not structured. It's not ionized.
right.
And so I asked her to take a drink of it for taste and texture, and she did. And then I poured it through the hydration ionizer one time and into a cup, and then asked her to drink that. And it just blew her away, the difference in the taste. And then I lasered it for 30 seconds with the
Right.
laser and the gold disc, and she could taste the difference again.
Hmm.
It's subtle, but it's pretty fascinating. And so,
Agree.
2 of the things that the body needs the most to be healthy is structured water, microclustered, ionized, and sunshine. And
Right.
so, I tell people that, I carry my Rocky Mountain stream with me here with the hydro ionizer, the
Right.
hydration, because it's simulating a Rocky Mountain stream. And then I carry my sunshine with the red laser and the gold disc. I carry, I have those with me all the time. And so it's really, 2 of the real basics that everybody can benefit for their
Sure.
whole family and their whole body, because microclustered structured water it actually starts to hydrate the body from the mouth and the upper stomach under the tongue. It
Right.
doesn't have to be digested to hydrate the body. And so,
Right.
and been using this, the hydro ionizer since about August is when we started testing it. And I feel I have a little bit better hearing, and my sense of smell has improved a little bit, you know, because water, every function in the body takes water.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, okay. Anything else you can think of you want to add? Looking at my notes here.
Well, not that I can think of offhand.
All
But it's
right.
just such a huge benefit that it's something to be used literally every day. I mean, it's not something you just do once in a while. And it
Correct.
really makes a huge difference in, as you pointed out, boosting immune function, energy levels, healing faster. I mean, there's really no downside. There's only an upside. So,
Only an upside.
yeah.
What about lymphatic drainage? Can
Well,
you
sure,
approach
it's going to improve all the body functions because one of the things you alluded to is improving the state of the water in the tissue, which we're mostly water anyway.
Yeah.
So even when you look at a fluid tissue like the blood or the lymph fluid, for example, it still has a high water content. So if you improve the quality of that, you're improving the quality of any fluid or tissue in the body at the same time, in effect. Yeah, absolutely, it would benefit that as well.
Mm-hmm. So that's why dehydration is so harmful to the body, is it
Correct.
thickens all the fluids and
Right.
makes the viscosity higher to where it's not flowing as well and as easy. And I tell people all the time, the quality of your water is the quality of your health, and the quality of your health is the quality of your life.
Right. Well, right. And when you start to change electrolyte balance and all kinds of things like that, if you deplete the water supply too much, so that creates other issues as well that are very quickly a problem for your body.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's a book I promote called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Dr. Batman Galdage says you're not sick, you're thirsty. Don't treat thirst with drugs or medications. So it's a great book if people would read it. It's one of the ones I read 35 years ago that really changed my whole thoughts on water and salt, unprocessed sea salt.
And the ionizer, as you pointed out too, you can use that to help actually facilitate lymphatic drainage. So that's another thing that you can use that, and you can use in concert with the lasers will only help. But there's a whole protocol just using the ionizer for improving lymphatic drainage. So that's just another facet, another aspect to that whole scenario.
Combination. Yeah, the whole combination.
Right.
Yeah. Self-care for self-healing. That's what we're all about. So it's like my eyes. I started demonstrating. I started doing these health and wellness expos about 5 years ago, and people would say you can't shine that red laser in your eyes. And so, knowing our laser was all coherent frequencies, I'd just run it back and forth across my eyes, shining at my eyes, and to demonstrate that it was harmless. And then I got to where I didn't need reading glasses anymore, and I kept demonstrating it that way, and got to where I didn't need glasses in the daytime. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, I don't need glasses at night either. And so after 52 years of wearing glasses, I was nearsighted in one eye, farsighted in the other, astigmatism in both. And then I renewed my driver's license last August, and they took the requirement for corrective lenses off my driver's license. I can see a golf ball at over 200 yards, and I can still read fine print. And it's really a blessing, So that's just another way of understanding the coherent frequencies. But again, I tell people I wouldn't shine anybody else's laser in my eyes, but
you really have to be careful. That's right.
Yeah, you have to be careful with it for sure. But the other piece of that is our eyes are 98% water, and so the least little bit of dehydration, and since I've done this, I can actually tell if I'm starting to get dehydrated a little bit, I start getting a little bit fuzzier vision. And so it's made me very conscious of the importance of water as far as vision goes in our eyes. So, all right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the call with me, Dr. Jim. Why don't you, tell people what area you're in and give them out your phone number in case they want to stop by and see you.
Sure. I'm in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. My office number is 215-803-7319.
All right.
Happy to help what would like to be helped.
Well, like I say, you got a great reputation. You've really been a blessing with pureVibranz helping us to understand this. It's been a great call tonight. I've learned a lot, especially the mitochondria floating in the blood, free flowing. That is huge, and it really helped me understand why we work as well as we do. It really, that opened my eyes a lot tonight to hear that. So again, I want to thank you, and we may have you back on the show again one of these days. So, thanks, all right, well, it's time to kind of close everything out here. And as I usually say, nobody else can vibrate for you. it's up to you to raise your own vibration. And because if you have any discomfort or disease, anything going on in your body, you're vibrating lower than optimal wellness, and only you can raise your vibration. And there's many ways of doing that. We just offer you a couple of tools here, a lot of tools actually, with the whole product line we have here at pureVibranz, so that you can help yourself, help your body heal itself, naturally. And that's what we're all about. So we'll see you here next week. And so have a good week. Take care. Have fun. Fun is one of the best ways to help start healing yourself, is when you start laughing and having fun. I have a theme. I've had a theme my whole life. If it ain't fun, I don't do it. Okay. I go find something else to do. So take care and have fun. Good night.